what does a good product look like? Like, what does a really successful live event look like for somebody who has the following and has an idea of what it is, but maybe doesn't know? How do you pick it and know what will be awesome?
Yeah, it's just fun, and there's something magical about getting a big group of people together, making something delicious and fun
Uh-huh.
with someone that they look up to. And like food is so many different things, right? It's like friendship, it's family, it's culture, it's memories, it's like everything. And so
Yeah.
getting people together to make something together is just like really fun at its core. And
Mm.
so as long as you don't like deviate too far from that,
Hmm.
you have something like really great to work with. As far as like
Hmm.
what like a common really successful class looks like, it'll be like what's a fun recipe, like one main recipe, and then a lot of times people will do like a fun cocktail for happy hour. So
Sure.
they'll make one recipe. They'll usually start with the things that are really simple and straightforward. Maybe there's a recipe that their community loves or like a post that gets a ton of traffic on their blog. They'll pick
Yeah.
something that's like really low hanging fruit and easy, and they'll make that. A lot of times people say like, "Hey, do I need to create new recipes for these classes?" Like, absolutely not. Just make it
Sure. Yeah.
easy on yourself. And
Yeah.
like, what are you sure someone like wants another,
Yeah.
sourdough basics class? It's like, well, it's not that they want another sourdough basics class. It's that they want
Uh-huh.
your sourdough basics
Sure.
class
Yeah. Yeah.
because they've been following you for a really long time and they really love like all of the effort that you put into your craft and like how you
Uh-huh.
make it accessible to them and like the tone that you use when you communicate like what you're teaching someone. And so they really just want to make it together with you. And then there's
Yeah.
also kind of the you have something to show for it. At the end of a class, if someone's participating and following along, like they have something delicious that they can share with other people. But like a really
Yeah.
successful class is usually like one or two recipes. It's a fun group of people. You'll make it together. It's
Yep.
something that is not going to be super hard for you unless you want to make it challenging. And you've got like that's your
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's kind of what like a really fun successful class looks like. But
And is it like half hour, hour? Have you found there's a sweet spot for on the recipe side? I'm guessing, fitness workout would be like 30 minutes to an hour, but what does it look like when you're making a recipe?
Yeah, so I'd say it really depends on what your sweet spot is. The most common we've seen are 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Sure.
We have seen people do like really long things
Yeah.
on weekends. Someone did this like heroic meal prep class that was on a
Yeah.
Sunday. It was like several hours.
Yeah.
There was just this huge number of people cooking together, getting ready for the week, and it was so fun. And
Huh.
they had so much, to show for it because they made a bunch of different recipes.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of like the bread making stuff happen on weekends, and that's a bit longer.
Sure.
But yeah, the sweet spot is usually like somewhere around an hour, like plus or minus 15
Yep.
to 30 minutes. That's kind of been the most
Yeah.
common thing.
And how much of it is informational versus entertainment? Like, are people actually making these alongside the creators in real time?
Yeah, so usually it's around like 2/3 to 75% of the class is cooking along with you. So the majority of people cook along.
Yep.
It's not like a demo that people watch. But
Yeah.
then there are a subset of people who really love to watch. And
Sure.
so they're essentially treating it like a live interactive TV show.
Yep.
And the TV show is an institution, right? Like the cooking show is like
Yeah.
an institution and everyone loves them and they're super fun and awesome. They're not live, they're not interactive, and you can't ask questions. And so the
Yep.
first time that I watched like a really huge cooking class, the amount of people I saw like taking notes during the
Mhm.
class just blew
Mhm.
my mind. It was amazing. Like, they
Mhm.
weren't there to cook and they were just taking notes to make sure that they could really crush it when they did it later.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a really fun live interactive thing, but you can also make it your own. So if there's a
Sure.
specific culture that you want to create, whether it's around when and how people ask questions or how many recipes you cook, there's little funny rituals that people create, and there's little moments in there that just don't happen unless you're there with people live. So like
Yeah, yeah.
the other night, someone was teaching a class and one of the questions was like, "Hey, I see that like cookbook on your shelf. Like,
Yeah.
what is that cookbook? Like, what are the cookbooks you have in your house?" And the person who's teaching like took a moment and she said, "Hey, this is super fun. Like, let me go grab my stack of cookbooks." And then she went
Yeah.
through and did like a show and tell and talked about like who were the creators who, the food bloggers that had inspired her, and like what were her
Cool.
favorite recipes and what are her cookbooks. And like someone was like, "When are you writing your next cookbook?" It was just this like
Yeah.
really fun moment that took, less than 5 minutes, but that just
Yep.
doesn't happen if you don't have the serendipity of like a really live, engaging, interactive experience with people who really do really want to support you.
Yeah, that's cool. How much do you have to be an entertainer to be successful with it? Like if somebody's like, because a lot of people who I would guess who blog, maybe Instagram, they're like, "Hey, this is super comfortable for me. Like I can write, I can photograph, I can like tweak this recipe a little bit." But then it's like it's different. Like right now, you and I are talking, and I look down and I see like record, and I know every single word that I'm saying is being recorded, and it'll eventually be broadcasted. But even this, like we can go back and edit it. When you're live, and that's kind of scary for some people. Some people thrive on it. So how do you
Yeah.
know if it's a it's something that you can do and be comfortable with? And can introverts do live events? And if so, how do they be successful with it?
Yeah. So first, we see tons of folks, and that's one of their first questions when that they ask us is
Hmm.
like, do I have to like entertain people, and do I have to be super high energy? And the answer is no. Like you just have to be yourself.
Hmm.
And if you want to do it, awesome. Like go for it. You don't have to if you
Hmm.
don't want to. But what I'll tell you is every person who does it, like says this is super fun.
Yeah,
It's a group of people together. You're sharing an experience that you really love. And, there's some elbow grease that goes into it. It's not
sure.
no work. And maybe you get some butterflies before your first one.
Yep, yep.
One person in particular, Serena Wolf, who's again was another person, one of the first people to start teaching on Airsubs, and then now I think she just did a class last night with like a few hundred people on it, and she's
Cool.
awesome, and she's like really funny and really high energy and great, but also is just like so willing to laugh at herself and be down
Yeah,
to earth, and like she's constantly like cracking jokes at her own expense, and she's just not taking herself seriously. And she told me the
sure.
story the other day, and she's told other people publicly that she was like shaking a cocktail, and then she
Yeah,
forgot to put the top on, and the thing like went everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah.
And so,
And people,
it's
in some sense, people kind of like that.
yeah. And so the other thing too is just with live as a medium, the bar is lower when it's live. Like
Sure.
if it's recorded, the bar actually like counterintuitively gets a little bit higher because people
Yep.
are like maybe expecting a little more production value.
Yep.
When it's live, if like the pot clangs in one direction, like no one
Yeah.
really cares because like they're actually like
They
really
know.
focused on their own kitchen,
Yep.
and cooking the thing themselves.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's sort of counterintuitive there where the energy is like really casual, and so you don't
Yep.
actually have to make it more serious than it is. You can kind of just show up and be yourself. And we see people who are super talkative, and then we see people who are much more introverted and serious,
Hmm.
a lot less. And it's really
Hmm.
just about like getting people together who are passionate
Hmm.
about something. Um,
Yeah. And part of it is what are you selling it as? Like if you're selling it as entertainment, you should probably be entertaining. If you're selling it as get the information you need to have meal prep accomplished for the week, on a Sunday, if you can deliver on that really well, but you're not super entertaining, great. Like you've still delivered on the thing that you said that you're going to deliver on. Probably better if you're also entertaining and engaging and interesting, which isn't always an easy thing to do. Like especially if you're by yourself. I've done this with solo podcast episodes where it's just like you press record and then it's just me talking into the mic for like half an hour to 60 minutes. Easier now, to your point, like the first few times you might have butterflies when you do it, but when you're first getting started, it's a new skill. Like it's a
yeah,
new thing. And I think insofar as people can view that as it's not the same as writing a blog post, it's not the same as doing Instagram, it's not even the same as doing like Instagram live.
yeah,
It's a new thing that you're going to, unless you have previous experience with it in some form, you're an actor or you've done improv or you've
yeah,
done cooking classes or has taught before, you'll probably have to have some learning that goes along with it, which is expected.
yeah.
um,
And I would think on that spectrum of entertainment and education, like edutainment, Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think if,
yeah.
like, no matter where you are, like you'll be somewhere on that spectrum, and that's okay.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
thing is just sort of being authentic to you and not trying to be, um,
Somebody else.
yes, something that you're not. And you definitely don't need like acting experience or like tons of public speaking
Yeah, yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Again, it's sort of like I encourage people to just try one and see how you like it, because chances are like you're going to get a ton of energy from like the other people
yeah.
who are there, and it's going to be this really cool fun thing. Again,
Totally.
like someone described it as like I feel like I have I'm hosting a dinner party, like I have like a party to go to, but I don't
Yep.
have to like cook for everyone. And it's also like I'm sharing something that I know because I'm already comfortable. I've already like I already
Yeah.
know how to make this. I've talked about it. I'm an expert here, and so it can be really kind of this
Totally.
thing that you share that you know.
Yeah.